Get the position, all right? We'll talk about the choke. So go hands under the armpits, all right? So this is like the north-south controlling position where he's controlling both of my arms. He's got, chest-to-chest control. He's got all of this in place. So when I'm here, like I've got to try to start getting back to my frames just like any place else. I'm trying to get my elbows, my knees back involved. So if he's controlling this way and it's not with, already having the attempted choke in place, then I'm going to start working to start to make some space. And I'm going to do that by starting to shrimp to one side or the other. As I go to shrimp, I'm going to shrimp my hips towards the side my head is on, because I can't really go this way, right? So I'm going to shrimp this way and get my elbow inside of his armpit. Right? He's usually going to not just stay there. He's going to adjust, yes. And as he adjusts, now I've got that frame in. It's kind of weak at the moment, but it's in place. So now I want to keep working to get, to get this other one in. So I'm going to keep shrimping and pushing to get him to come up so I can slide my other elbow in, right? So as he makes that adjustment is when I bring my elbows inside. Once my elbows are inside into his shoulders, I now have the space to start bringing my knees in, right? So I don't want to just stay here. I want to connect and get to here. Now that I'm here, now I can start to turn back into him and get back to my guard, right? So again, we're here, I'm stuck. I've got to shrimp towards the side that my head is on. So I'm going to shrimp, get this in place. I'm going to keep shrimping to make him have to overcompensate and come back, and that gets my other elbow in. So now I've got my frames in place. From here, I bring my knees up to reinforce that, and now I'm just making this spin, right? So we're shooting through here. If I can get this foot underneath, we can start looking at triangle attacks and things from here. But for right now, just work on getting to the guard and playing with this first part. So one more time, we're here, I shrimp, and I get both elbows in, knees up, make the turn, back to guard. Right? Let's play with it. 3, 2, 1. So now we're just doing a little demonstration. So I just want your hands down at your sides. So you can't use your hands. No frames, right? I'm not going to use my hands either.
Oh, we're doing chesties?
Yes, right? So if I have chest to chest,
can I use my legs?
So you can move around with your legs, right?
Oh, I don't know. She's not. Sorry.
Right? I keep him pinned to the.
I'm gonna use my. I'm just gonna sit on my.
Without frames, he's never getting out. I don't even have to use my arms. If I had my arms and he doesn't use frames, he's stuck here.
I gotta use my arms.
He's got to get frames. Right? He has to take away the chest-to-chest connection. Right? So this is the whole thing we're doing here. When I'm here, he has to get rid of this chest-to-chest connection. When he gets this first one in, he's already removed my chest-to-chest. And I'm like, oh, I got to get it back. And then that leads right into his frames. Right? So that's the thing. Like whenever you're passing guard, you're trying to get to side control, north, south, all of that. The ultimate goal is I'm trying to get chest to chest. If I can get chest to chest, I now can control him. Right? Now, once I get chest to chest, now I'm just putting wedges in place with my arms to keep him from moving. So that's my goal when I'm on top. When you're on bottom and they get by and they get chest to chest, I have to get rid of that chest to chest connection, right? And as you start to try to frame and get rid of that chest to chest connection, that's when, from the top person's perspective, as they try to get frames in, that's when they give you their arms. That's when I can start attacking the arms and or their legs if they bring their legs in to try to disconnect, right? So so that's the whole, the whole goal with this, and I'm just trying to get rid of that, right? But sometimes it does work out real nice to where I end up right into like a submission attempt. Where I can shoot stuff and attack things. So it's one of those that it's just, you have to recognize in positions as you rotate that when you get to a certain spot there, as they're planted on top, you have one arm in, one arm out, which means triangle, right? Anytime I see one arm in, one arm out, I know I have a triangle of some kind, and I can shoot that. So, that is there. There's omoplatas there. There's a lot, arm bars there. There's lots of different things. Once I get that disconnect and get him off of that chest to chest. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So other questions on the north-south?
Could you do the Hail Mary from there, right?
I could go a Hail Mary. It's hard when your elbows are in my armpits. Once I get my frames in place, now if I can push you, then I potentially could. But at that point, because I've already got you elevated, I want to take the space underneath.
Right. Because you would have to get so far to get your feet all the way under the armpit.
Right. Right. So, so that's where, like, if you're in that, what he's asking is we have a position we call the Hail Mary. So come down, chest to chest, right? So I can hit a Hail Mary from here too. And this is where I connect to his hips and I start scooting away. And now, once again, he's no longer chest to chest, right? Once I remove that chest to chest, now I can start coming up, taking his back, attacking the arms, all of that, right? So, but again, that Hail Mary is the same thing. We can play with this right now too. I have to get rid of the chest to chest. If I try to invert right here, I can't, because I can't get up on my shoulders, right? So I've got to get his chest off of my chest. Now that his chest is off my chest, I can come up and take his back. And we can go wherever, right? So you can play with this little, and all I'm doing is back rolling. And I'm going to back roll over the shoulder that he's currently laying on. Right? So when I kick him back, I'm just going over that shoulder to take his back. Alright? And I'm already here for the warm-ups. You can go right into our swing move, to our spider web, to our finish there. Right? Those are options. So, but again, it's that you got to get that disconnect. If I don't get that disconnect of his chest and I just try to invert, he just can push me right back down. So it doesn't work. I gotta get to here. And this is why I always try to get my arms fully extended and my hands come on his hips to hold him there. And then that allows me the space to back roll to his back, right? I can get a footing on this side and I can sit out and I can arm drag. Right? So depending on which side I go to, different options show up. So
Because you could come up and take truck right now, right?
right. So if I attach to the opposite, so the side his head's on, if I could go this way as I go to back roll, right? So I get here and I come up, then I can come up to that arm drag situation. If I go to the other side, then I end up kind of in that triangle situation. Right? So if I come to this side and I come up, I end up here. Right? So it's just going to kind of depend on which way you want to go. And this is where the nice thing is when he's low, a lot of times I use the back roll just as something to get him to disconnect for me. Right? So if I'm here and I get to here and I start to come up, look, he just disconnected. Now I can just go back to my guard, right? Because he feels me starting to invert and realizes he can't stop me, so he pops up, and when he pops up, I just spin underneath him and go back to guard, all right? So he just gave me the space I was looking for, right? So if you just remember, like, my whole goal is just to get rid of that chest-to-chest connection. If he does it for me, I just go back to guard. I don't try to force something that isn't there. Right? It's when he stays low, I just go ahead and take his back. You know, so, but a lot of times when they have north-south and they're chest to chest, they just try to hold you. And so it's real easy to just invert and take their back because they just stay squashed and try to stay top heavy and everything like that, and it allows me to come up on their back, right? Cool. All right, so now, north-south choke. So if I've really messed up and he's gotten control of my head, right, and we're in this situation. So now, you know, the big thing, and really with any submission and when I'm trying to get out, is, you know, I want you guys to think about what he doesn't have control of. All right, so when he's only on my neck, you know, that means my arms and my legs are free. So I should use them to get out, right? If he's controlling this arm as well, now I have one arm and two legs, all right? So I'm gonna use those, you know, so it doesn't really matter. You know, yeah, I can, you know, no matter how deep this becomes, I can still use things to help me get out. The biggest thing here is learning how to pendulum. Because this is what's going to start to give me space. When he's here, in order to finish, his bicep, you know, his arm is cutting off the blood flow on one side, his lat and his ribs are cutting off the blood flow on the other side. So if I simply turn my head towards him, he can squeeze all he wants. It's uncomfortable. He's never going to choke me.
I have to get you back.
He's got to get my head turned slightly away to slide in and get that choke. Right? If I could go ahead, yep. Like right there is the choke. You know, so anything short of that is just uncomfortable. Right?
It's more of a pain in the butt for whoever you're doing.
Yeah.
It's easy to frustrate.
Right. You know, so I want to use my legs to be able to turn my head back towards him. So I'm going to pendulum away first to get momentum, and then I'm going to come towards to be able to start turning my head. This allows me now to reach around and grab his chin. Now that I have his chin, I can either continue this way, but if he pulls me back down, then I go the other way. And I come on top. Where the head goes, the body must follow. Alright, so we're here. He's down on this. He's controlling. Alright, I'm whipping, turning, grabbing for his chin. Once I get a hold of his chin, now I'm looking to whip again. And I'm going to pull his chin towards the ceiling as I go. If I can get this hand in to help as extra leverage, even better. But if not, all I need is his chin. I twist his head, he's going with it. Right? So, you know, but the big thing there is being able to hit that whip to get to your side. Right? Like, it's pretty hard. I really get it. For him to stop me from turning. Because it's my entire body whipping.
Versus my arm.
Versus his arm. Right? You know, so it's really learning, you know, how to use that leg whip to turn your body. So you can turn your head, and you always want to turn your head towards them to alleviate the north-south choke. And then my outside arm is reaching over to grab the chin. And then I whip back the other way to bring him over. Right? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Right? So, using that concept, if I'm trying to finish Max from the north-south, if I can stop him from turning back into me, from being able to whip his way back through and turn his head, then I can finish him, right? So if Max is trying to turn his head this way and his body this way, right? How can I stop him from doing that?
His body down. Grab his.
Turn that way? without coming off the hand. Yep. I don't like that.
I see.
Right? So if I have this and he starts to come away, I just make a connection under his shoulder. And when he comes back, now he can't turn into me. Right? So all I'm doing is grabbing my forearm and putting my fist under his shoulder. Right? And so now he can't turn back into me. Now he can't get out of the choke. Does that make sense?
Right under the shoulder blade, not the spine.
Yeah, I want it under his shoulder. If his shoulder gets to the mat, he can turn. If I'm on his spine, he can still turn because I'm right in the center. So he can turn over the top of it. He won't like it, but he'll go over it.
That's gonna hurt. But
I would rather try to fight the arm.
So yeah, the shoulder blade doesn't hurt as much, but he can't turn.
It's like a wall.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm coming under and I'm just grabbing my forearm and stuffing my fist under his shoulder. You know, and now he can't turn his shoulder to the mat. He can't make that turn in to stop the north-south choke. Right? We're just going off of a simple concept of understanding that, you know, this is how I can control somebody, right? It's the same like laying your back side control. Like if we're playing side control, like I can be sitting judo side. Right now, if I'm not controlling his shoulder, he can turn into me right now. Right? But if I control his elbow, which is a means of controlling his shoulder, now he can't really turn into me because he can't get his shoulder to the mat.
I don't want to leave the arm there. I know.
Right? So if we understand concepts of what we're trying to do, you know, to get things done or prevent things from happening, it's going to be more powerful than understanding the move itself, right? These escapes I've shown are all based on concepts, you know, and this is why, like when you're rolling, you know, it's good to know technique. It's better to understand the concept behind the technique. Because if I understand the concept, you know, this is why, like, when I roll with different people, they're like, oh my God, you're always 3 steps ahead. Like, I'm not really 3 steps ahead. You just made a reaction, and I already know based off of concepts that you moved, you created space, you disconnected from me, now there's space, I fill the space, I get back to guard. Right? I'm not trying to perform a particular move. I'm just using a concept in which to move around. Right? So, you know, if I understand, if I'm trying to sweep somebody, go on all fours, I always use this premise, right? If I'm trying to knock Max over and get him on his back, think of him like a table. He's got the 4 legs of the table, right? If I can remove one of those, you know, if I want to sweep him, now all I got to do is push him in the direction of the leg I removed. It doesn't make sense for me to push him this way. It doesn't even make sense for me to push him this way. But if I push him that way, he falls down. It doesn't matter what sweep I'm doing. I can be doing a flower sweep. When I'm here and I control his arm, if I push him towards his hips, just slide your right leg out. Like, just slide him out to the side.
This way?
Your no.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, base.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry.
Right? He can just slide that out and he's going to stop it every time. But that's because I'm pushing him the wrong direction. I need to push him this way. Right? That's where he doesn't have, you know, any base to stop the sweep. Right? Chest to chest connection, right? If I have my chest to chest, once I have this, now I'm just putting wedges in place. Those wedges can look a lot of different ways, but I'm just trying to control cross corners. If I control cross corners, good things happen.
For you.
For me.
Yeah, not for me.
He's got to get rid of cross corner controls. Now he can do stuff. Alright? So, we're using that understanding when we're escaping, when we're controlling, when we're doing all of these things. Does that make sense? He's chest to chest. His hands are controlling my hips. So now he has both shoulders, both hips. So he controls every corner. Right? So I have to find a way to disconnect him from that. You know, so I either have to do like we did initially and strength and start getting this in, or I gotta start pushing his hips to disconnect him to look for my back roll. I gotta do something to disconnect those controls. As long as he has both shoulders and both hips, I'm stuck. Right? So, you know, when you get into certain positions, this is what you have to think about. Go to regular side control. Right? This is traditional side control, right? So he's here. So he's controlling, you know, he's controlling this shoulder, this hip for his cross connection, and he has my head, right? So I have to deal with that in order to get rid of it. So I'm going to disconnect my hip from his leg. Now he doesn't control my hip anymore. Now I'm already getting back towards my guard. Right? If he slides his elbow down to control this hip so that now he has cross corner control this way, now I can't move that hip. So I've got to move his head to disconnect the control. Right? When you're on top, you're trying to get chest to chest, you're trying to get cross corner controls. When you're on bottom, I'm trying to get rid of cross corner controls and then disconnect the chest to chest pressure, right? You know, it's the exact same when it's chest to back. When he has chest to back, he wants to control at least opposite corners. You know, so this is where twisters and all this stuff shows up. You know, but if he doesn't control, you know, cross corners, I can escape. So when you're escaping the back, it's the same concept. I have to disconnect those cross corner controls, and then I have to disconnect, you know, his chest from my back. It's the exact same concept, right? So if you start thinking of it that way, it will make it, you know, it'll make it easier for you to understand what you should do, and you don't have to sit there and think, what was that side control escape coach showed me? And then you do the wrong one for that at the wrong time, because you're not understanding what he's controlling. You know, because it's one of those things, fucking hit this way, and I tried to just shrimp and get my knee in. I'm never getting there. Right? And I'm going, man, this side control escape sucks. I'm never doing this one again. It doesn't work. Why'd coach show me this? I never get out of side control. Every time they stop me, I try to do that escape and it never works. Well, it's because it's not the right escape for the right thing. Right? If he's blocking my hip, I got to do something different. Right? So,
Can you do that push up on the chin thing right there too?
It's hard because of where your head is. Right? So if you go down and block the hip again, right? Right? Like it's a weird, and you can attack my arm.
Right.
So I just want to use my bicep against the corner of your head and turn you. Right? To get rid of that control. Right? And immediately you see how it disconnects the chest to chest pressure, and that allows me to move. Right? You know, so that's our goal. Like when you're in a non-dominant position, you know, when you're on bottom and they're chest to chest and they have control of you, is I'm trying to find a way to ultimately get rid of that chest to chest control. That usually means I first have to deal with cross corner control. You know, unless they're just not really aware of what they're doing and they don't have cross corner control, and if they don't, awesome. Then it's an easy escape because they don't know what they're doing. But if they have cross corner control, I have to get rid of that in order to get rid of the chest to chest compression to now get back to where I want to get, right?